There are some new personal brand trends that are just going crazy right now. So I want to explain some of these to you and give you some tips on how you can execute them and how it's going to benefit your personal brand. Let's get it. What's good, people? I'm Coach Chris, host of the Personal Branding Playbook. So let's talk about some of the new personal branding trends. And I think number one on that list, something we can't ignore, is being a podcast guest. I recently recorded a video explaining how you could be a better podcast guest. You can check that out somewhere up here. This is really blowing up because podcasting is blowing up. Because podcasting is in the forefront, that's getting the most attention. That's what marketers go. And there's nothing wrong with that. I think that if you have something to sell, something you want to talk about, a message you want to get across, being a podcast guest is one of the best things you can do right now. It's the best way to build your brand at this point because so many people are building their own platform. I love that this is happening because 10 years ago, if you wanted to promote something, you had to go to some radio station or something. Like, remember book tours were a thing? Now podcast tours are a thing. That's really a thing. Like, I've been pitched podcast tours and it makes sense. It's a good service. If you want to, now I would suggest if you are just trying to build your brand over time, you don't need to pay for a service. Don't waste your money. But if you have a new book coming out or, you have your own show coming out, paying for a podcast tour is not a bad idea. You can pay $1,000 and go on 10, 12 podcasts in, let's say, 2 months. That's not a bad deal because it's going to get you a lot of attention, sell whatever you're selling, super easy. So being a podcast guest is just as valuable now as being on the radio was 10 years ago because there are so many different platforms. And when people create their own platforms, now the creators are everywhere. That helps the connection kind of be stronger. You know what I mean? Like micro influencers are powerful. So even if the podcast only has, let's say, 1,000 listeners, that podcast is still really valuable because out of the 1,000 listeners, literally like 600, 700 of those people really, really support that creator. They're probably in the Patreon or they're paying for a product or something. Like that's what podcasting is doing right now. It's creating massive communities in a really small way. It's a ton of small communities everywhere, right? And it's super, super powerful. And then to be a podcast guest, it really doesn't take a lot. Once you have a decent camera, you can use your phone, obviously. You get a good microphone and you have a plan for going on the show, boom, you're immediately a great guest. You don't have to fly over here and over there and you have to do all of that. You literally can just set up in your living room or in where I am now. Obviously, I'm not in a regular studio. Forgive me. Or you can set up in your office or whatever. You're good to go. That's all it takes. So being a podcast guest has actually become super easy because it's just super popular. And now advertisers are pouring millions and billions of dollars into the industry. So it's only going to continue to grow. So podcast guesting has become literally one of the most important things if you're releasing a new product or you have a book coming out or whatever it is. So you have to become a podcast guest if you want to market yourself. You have to. And don't be afraid of like, oh, I don't know how to do this or I don't know how to do that part. Again, it's super, super easy. It's nothing to be afraid of. Check out my video. I'll link it down in the description below. Another trend right now is digital products. And I think they've been trending for a couple years now, but I think in a different way. Because the creator economy is being pushed so heavily, I believe it's actually becoming easier for creators to make money from their products. Like a lot easier. Selling courses a couple years ago, it was like foreign to people, or we even had that period where every course was a scam. We ran into that too. And now we're at the point where courses are just widely accepted. Just accepted. Same with ebooks and coaching programs, events. It's widely accepted. As long as you can give people results, widely accepted. So I believe it's very, very important for you to start creating digital products. But you should start with an ebook. And I have a video coming out on that, a new episode on a personal branding playbook. Make sure you subscribe, detailing how to write a valuable ebook and how to create something that's not only going to build your brand, make you some money, but it's going to impact you long term. Like you don't have any idea how valuable it is. And one way an ebook is super valuable is you can use those to do public speaking. You can give them away when you want to get on stage. Like, hey, if you let me speak at this event, I'll give my ebook free to all of the attendees. And again, now the reason why this works with my ebook strategy is because it's a real book. Like if you want to take it and make it like a hard copy book, you can. I would suggest doing that after you've sold 1,000 ebooks. Then you can go and make a hard copy and start selling that and everything. But in the beginning, focus on the ebook. You can also give this away when you're a podcast guest. It's so many ways to use the ebook, man. But I would say originally you sell it on your website or whatever, or even Gumroad or something like that for just $20, 10, 15, $20. That's going to bring you a little extra cash in. Most importantly, it introduces people to your brand. So if you have your own content, you have your own platform you're building, that person that spends money with you, even if it's just $10, they've already shown some sort of loyalty because they spent that money to get something from you. And if you can deliver on that, they're going to deliver it back 10 times over. I promise you. When you put out new content, they're going to listen to it, view it, whatever, and share it. Without you asking, they just do it because they support the brand. So ebooks are super valuable right now. And again, I'm talking about a specific type of ebook. I'm not talking about the ebook you make on Canva where it's 4 pages. Like, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about something you do a little research for. You write at least I would say 7,000 words, and you give them a specific strategy. You give them something really valuable, something they can't get anywhere else. Your strategy you created to get them to a solution. That's an ebook that will build your brand and stand the test of time. So keep that in mind, and if you don't have one yet, that's fine. But I would say start working on it because that should be a huge priority. One of the last industry trends, and I saved this because this is probably the biggest, virtual events. And I'm telling you this because I've spoken at live events and virtual events and all of that. But when COVID hit, virtual events just went to a different level, right? It became a different beast now, man. And I've done so many virtual events since COVID started, and it's improved my brand, grown so much from these virtual events. It's one thing you got to be doing. If you want to be online business owner, entrepreneur, whatever, you got to be speaking at some sort of events. You have to get on stage. And I know for some people it's like, oh, well, they're not paying me or whatever. You can get paid from all these events. Let me just be clear, like straight up. You can get paid from all of these events. But what's required is that you have a plan. So when you go and speak at virtual events, you need to know exactly how you are going to provide solutions to people so that they can buy from you. That's why the ebook is valuable because, again, it introduces people to your brand. And I explain all of this and show you how to win at events, how you make money from every single event you speak at in the personal branding playbook. You can get a copy down below. We got the workbook, the presentation, courses, all kind of stuff for you. Check it out down in the description box. The virtual events are going to also help you build authority. If nobody knows you and nobody's aware of you, getting connected to other speakers and the event planner too, that's very important. It's very important for your brand because now the bigger players start to know who you are. And I can guarantee the bigger players are either going to have a podcast, a YouTube channel, a Facebook group, some kind of platform that you can be on. Now, what happens when you go on your guest in their space? You build more authority. You get more attention on your brand. So the speaking at virtual events is not really even about making money per se. That's more brand building because you get to connect with industry leaders. You build some great relationships, and then you put yourself in front of the audience of that market. Some events I speak at are for podcasting, and the event is about business or something. I'm talking about how a podcast is going to impact your business. But I still get clients from that, and I still build an audience from that because I'm providing solutions to that audience, right? So now I leave that event with 7 new leads. I close 3 of them, and that's $3,000 sometimes, depending on what they buy or whatever. That's really good money every time. So I don't want you to think of virtual events as, oh, they're not paying me, and I got to do all of this work, and they aren't. Look, I'm telling you, you're going to build massive brand from that. And what happens after you get one good event and you do really well, the other industry leaders get to know who you are. Now somebody else is going to reach out to you like, hey, I saw you speak at so-and-so's event. It was really good. I love you can speak at mine. That's how it works. It's a trickle effect, man. It just trickles down. Soon as they see that you're good at one, all the other ones they'll be lined up waiting for you, especially if you choose a very specific niche, right? For me, I don't just have podcasting. I went layers deep. So I know podcasting, podcast launching, monetization strategy and all that. But then I also can go a layer deep to podcast for business. Like, how do you generate leads? How do you get people on the phone from listening to your podcast? If you can go deeper down and solve a problem that your market has that nobody else is solving, you are in a league of your own. You become unstoppable. Honestly, you become unstoppable because now you've built such a strong brand. Nobody can duplicate that. It can't be duplicated. So again, virtual events are going to be a game changer for you. They're going to help you get in front of the right people and start to talk to the people that matter, get to know the people that matter. And if you're selling any kind of product, you can sell it at a virtual event. Believe me, I've done it. I'm telling you, it works. So those are some industry trends, some personal branding tips for the year 2021, man. I'm telling you, next year, these things are only going to be amplified. Virtual events aren't going anywhere. Digital products are only going to become more and more valuable and profitable. And being a podcast guest, I mean, come on, man. We'll keep seeing that growth for the next 5 years at least. So you can follow each one of these strategies. I got systems and tools and processes to help you complete every single one of them inside of the personal branding playbook. Check it out in the description box down below. If you're not subscribed, make sure you do that now. Go subscribe to the podcast if you want to hear audio only. You don't want to see this face. Thank you for tuning in, man. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. I'm Coach Chris, and I will see you next time.